All right, guys. Welcome to Tales from a Degen. I am your host, JJ Lieberman, and I'm not going to say anything corny. Your resident Degen. There's no need for that. It goes without saying. But this is our first episode. We did a little sizzle reel, a little teaser for everyone last week. And the whole idea of this is we are going to bring on other guests, other people who are willing to talk about the most degenerate thing that they have done in their life. And a lot of people, when they have a real degenerate story, they have multiple degenerate stories. For instance, the Republican senator who was tapping his foot to get his dick sucked, an understall blowjob. I mean, he got caught. He did it, which ended up being to a cop, and he said, I just needed toilet paper. Fucking liar. You want your dick sucked, you closet case, fake religious dude. But, I could only imagine that man had many stories of gay chicaneries, if that even makes sense. But so what we will do is we will bring on guests. But the problem is, two problems right now, and this is why we're doing the solo episode for the first one, but a great one nonetheless, is that, one, it is very difficult to find people who are willing to go completely honest. Because what you'll see is people say, yeah, I would love to do an episode and tell you the most fucked up thing I've ever done. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, it's going to hurt my career. And I'm like, you're still relying on the industry that you cannot tell your fucking deviant secrets. So we are going to have to find a special kind of degenerate who is willing to throw his life out there and potentially ruin his own life if he does work in a corporation or if he gets a movie or something like that, for essentially 1,000 views at first. My videos are not getting more than a couple thousand views. So you're going to get some lunatic who, with the potential of going viral though, and then he's for sure fucked. Because we can always say, sure, you want to take down that thing because it only had 1,500 views? I'll take it down. But once we get into 5-figure thousands, too fucking bad. We're keeping that episode. So the other reason why we're still doing a solo today is because I'm shooting it in my home studio, a.k.a. my living room, a.k.a. the fucking common area with me and two other roommates. It is so hot in here. We have 2 AC units. They only work in the rooms. So right now, I would not put someone through the suffering of sitting through an hour podcast or 30 minutes to tell a story, because the true degenerate story would be, oh my God, this one time I did a podcast with JJ Lieberman for only 1,000 views or 500 views, and it was like ball sweat heat. It was unbearable. So we decided we'll do it just on my own, because I have, like I said, multiple stories, multiple degenerate stories. And what I wanted to talk about, because I didn't know what I wanted to say, because there's a lot of things I do. Like I scam big corporations for free coupons all the time. That's the kind of fucking scumbag I am, because I'm going against a man for every individual for like $15 to $20 coupons at a time. So if I go to a supermarket like a Whole Foods and the chicken wasn't that great, I write a novel. So we'll do that another time. But that's not for an inaugural episode, it's not great to talk about my stories, how I've gotten $20 back from Uber Eats. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the value of Craigslist. And I'm sure people use Craigslist a lot, but I found Craigslist and maybe it's Craigslist, I don't know. I found Craigslist in 2005 when I was in my early 20s. I was living at my dad's, rehabbing a shoulder injury. At the time, I was still in baseball. He lived in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I was rehabbing at a place called Athletes Performance, and he said to me, you want to stay at my place, you need to get a job. And it was in America, and I was Canadian, so it's like, well, where do I get a job? Who's going to pay an illegal, I mean, mind you, there's a lot of illegal Mexicans working in Arizona, but some jobs you don't want to do. So he said, you go to this site called Craigslist, and they have jobs for hire, and you can get jobs for cash. So I go to this site. I find Craigslist first time, and here's the situation with it. It had a lot of job opportunities. It had jobs in every field. Like, that's where people would go put their resume first before you had, like, maybe Monster.com was around at the time, but that's where people would drop off their resume. But I would go there. I looked for the jobs, and then what I saw is that there's a whole entire personal section. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to find any job. There is no way, because I'm in my early 20s. I'm super horny. I'm trying to fuck all the time. And there's no way I'm going to look for a job at the same place I'm also looking to get laid. I mean, if you had a job listing on Pornhub, if you had just different job listings on Pornhub, there'd be no chance anybody would find jobs. You're just like, it's the wrong place. So I delved into the personals, and I would post all the time. And I used Craigslist personals for years. And I met some of the most beautiful people, but also some of the most disgusting warthogs that exist. And which makes sense, because it's people who are like looking for, whether it was like, for instance, I used the M for M, the men for men, and I would use, there would be like these closet cases, but there would also be these trolls who would go on there knowing that that's what that was looking for. So you would, and this is before, I was willing to take a risk in 2005 on meeting someone, but with no picture. So you'd put your stats on there, and someone would be like, oh, I'm 6'1", a college jock, 6-pack abs, 9-inch dick. Everyone had a dick bigger than the fucking world. It was insane. So I would go meet them, and it would be like a 60-year-old man who could barely fucking see straight. So it was obviously, but I did meet some blue chips. But for every one blue chip you'd meet, there'd be 30 fucking dudes that were just absolutely disgusting. And it worked the same with women, because after a few years, and when I really started banging chicks, even in my 30s, I would still use Craigslist. I would go men for women, and I would post my headshot. And this is what I told on another podcast on Gas Digital on Buy Guys. I was telling them how I would go on Craigslist to find big busty chicks to titty fuck. And believe it or not, there would be a lot of responses from women who I couldn't believe it. Also men who would be also lurking in that section. They'd be like, hey dude, I'm not a chick and I don't have big tits. I don't have any tits, but I'd love to hook up with you. I'm like, are you fucking stupid? What man would be like, no, okay, well, I came for tits, but there's just some desperate troll who's willing to blow me through a glory hole. That's fantastic. So I would just block them and not do that, because at that time I was looking to titty fuck, and I used my actor headshot, my headshot for acting, as my profile. I posted it. I didn't give a fuck. I already at this point was going on stage talking about the deviance of my life. So what would I give a fuck if I was posting a headshot? And also, too, you couldn't prove it was me. Although if you could, someone figured out it was me. And I even did a bit about it. So it didn't even fucking matter at one point. To the point where I did a bit about it, and I'm doing the bit on stage, and I thought I was killing so hard. But what it was a bunch of comedians at the back of the room. They found my ad with my headshot, and they started showing everybody. But here I am telling this story thinking, oh my God, this is the best bit I've ever had because it's fucking killing. Sorry for the spoon in my tea. But it was just comics laughing so hard because they found my fucking ad, which wasn't hard to find. And I posted that in the Instagram Reels, and I will add that. I guess I can post-production add the picture of that. It's great Great picture. You're going to see that picture and you're going to see this face and you're going to be like, Jesus Christ, you've aged in comedy. Which does suck when you do look at your initial headshot as a comedian. And this is everyone, unless you're someone, I don't know who, I can't think of it. Dane Cook, Daniel Tosh, but I think he's got hair transplants, so that doesn't fucking count. Because if I had hair transplants, I'd be in the fucking game. And I repeated that because I moved away from the mic. I should have just continued like an idiot because we're not doing any cuts, so it doesn't matter. The only cut I'm doing is through my Instagram reels, but this I'll post on YouTube. So I'm just telling. We have a producer of this podcast, incredible, because the first episode on YouTube might get under 50 views. So to have a producer, to have a studio in the apartment is quite spectacular. So over the course of the years, initially, and I don't even know, like, my dad told me about this site. I don't even know if he knew what I was using it for. Although I did used to take pictures of me having sex with dudes, and then they would send me the files because I'm like illiterate. I'm an computer illiterate. I'm also a book illiterate and a fucking word illiterate. That's not possible, but yeah, it is. I can't read words. So, but book illiterate's the same thing. So I'm just fucking retarded. So I would get these pictures sent to me on my email. And after the fact, I'd want to look at the pictures, obviously, like a crazy serial killer does. And I would look at these pictures, and I guess I was saving them onto my computer, which was my dad's computer in his office. So I didn't know that fucking computers would save. Like, I knew I saved the picture to open it, but I didn't know it saves it in some kind of internal hard drive. So my dad must have seen these fucking pictures and been completely disgusted. He never brought it up to me. He never said anything, which I also feels like so shady. Like, how do you not say anything? How uncomfortable that is. I'm hiding something from you and you fucking know. That's who's the bigger fucking deviant in this situation? Me hiding about my sexuality or you fucking knowing? Like, if I would just say, hey man, you can do whatever gay shit you want to do. Just don't fucking open the pictures on my computer, please. And I'd be like, so embarrassed. So maybe he's just a great dad. He saved me that embarrassment and just fucking wore it on the chin every time he saw one of my new files. Because I don't know how they appeared, but I'm sure it was just a picture. Or he would just, like, every time I used his computer, he would just fucking wipe it clean without even looking into it. So, but yeah, his recommendation to find a job was the path that led me to going on Craigslist and literally hooking up with probably 50 to 100 people, from men, women, and eventually I just started using it for escorts, because then you find they have, like, what was it? I want to open it. They have personals, M for M, and then they had like services. Oh yeah, fuck. They had services, and under one of the services was like just escorts. And for a while they had, I forget if it was actually escorts or what it was, but they would have escorts, but then eventually it got banned, and that went to all back pages, which was a place to find escorts. Then eventually back pages got banned, and now, man, you just have to use I guess like OkCupid, something like that. Plenty of Fish, I heard, has a lot of escorts, because you know when it's an escort anyways, because they message you like, hi babe, and you're like, okay, then no woman fucking talks like that. No dude talks like I hate when a dude says like that to me too. Or like, I'll message them and they're an escort and they're like, baby, and I'm like, okay, you're not getting a fucking dollar out of me. You're not gonna talk to me and belittle me and call me fucking baby. I'm still a man. So yeah, so that's how the escort game worked. And I would meet escorts off. One of the worst escort experience I had was when I was first starting to do comedy clubs in New York City, in touring in Canada. My first comedy club showcase was at the Comedy Works in Montreal, where I ended up bombing. Oh, the Comedy Nest. I went for a 7-minute showcase, and I bombed so hard that the next day I found a BBW escort, Big Beautiful Women. A lot of people think BBW is black women, but it's a BW, a big, beautiful woman, can be black, white, Indian. It can be everything. Then there's also SSBBW, which is a supersized BBW, which initially you think a BBW is supersized, but nope, there is a bigger version of the bigger version. So I found this one, and she said for $40 I could titty fuck her, and there was no communication. It was just back and forth. And when I went to her place, it was probably, I overpaid for $40 because I got to the French part of Montreal, because there's like everywhere they speak French and they'll fucking lie to you and pretend they don't speak English. I'm like, how's that fucking possible? How is that possible that you live in Canada and you're born in Canada and you don't speak fucking English? You only speak French. They hate Canadians so much that are not francophones. I'm like, I'm like downtown Montreal. I was like, excuse me, sir, I'm looking to get to this stop. And they're like, no, je ne parle anglais. And I'm like, don't lie to me. You think I'm fucking new? You know, they think you're that fucking stupid. So I went to this, there's an actual like French, the francophone part of Montreal where they predominantly are speaking mostly in French. Because in Montreal, they'll have like kind of like the Spanglish, like the English and the French. But, you know, a lot of people speak like English, like you'd think they're from Toronto. But then all of a sudden they just put on the French accent. So I go to this French woman's house, who I didn't know she was French. I should have known it wasn't going to be worth $40 when her pictures were black and white. She sent me black. What do I care? I'm fucking, at this time, I'm in my early 30s. I'm ready to titty fuck. I did a set the night before that didn't go well. I don't think anything like this. I'm like, she got great tits. Let's fucking do this. I mean, she's probably in her 40s. And I show up and I get dropped off. I took a cab over there, and at the door was not even a door. It was kind of like taking steps down to a bunker, and it was just the Quebec flag, the province, like the state flag in America. But that was her door. But it wasn't painted as a door. It was an actual fucking flag. So I like went to knock it, and my fist just went right through. Like I'm like, this can't be real. And I open up, and it's almost pitch black, and I see this thing in the back of the room. It's like in a movie when you're like, there's an episode of Seinfeld where he comes in, and he's like Elaine's trying to plot to capture the dog with Newman, and he's like smoking the cigar, and he's like trying to, like, that's what it was. It's like, you know, it's like this fucking covert operation. Mind you, I'm illegally trying to titty fuck this woman, so it is somewhat of a covert operation. And she doesn't speak a lick of English, so I guess she was using a converter, like some kind of translator in the email. And I'm like, can we start? And she goes, huh? Like, I can't even do it. But she was disgusting. Because there was a little light on. Not much, thankfully, because I wouldn't have been able to come if there was a lot of light. But there was just enough light that I could get through this and finish the job. And I almost thought for a second, maybe this isn't worth it. There was like a moment between like walking in there and me about to get my dick out that I'm like, I can't do this. This is $40. I mean, I don't know. There could be someone who's going to murder me. But the problem is, once she's disgusting. And once her tits came out, they were so big. I'm like a glutton for fucking big tits. I'm a gluttonous. I couldn't control myself. And she had like raccoon eyes. I don't even know if she had hair or if it was like a gray spot. Like, she had hair, but there was like gray spot. I didn't know what it was. It was really a fucking disgusting experience. But again, those tits, you just have to zone in. It's kind of like when you're a major league ball player and you know they're throwing, how do you hit a 99-mile-an-hour fastball? Well, you don't see anything else except the ball, and that's all I focus on. You know, I could read the seams on her tits. That's how great her tits were. They were so big, and I just remember her putting the lotion on. My cock was somehow extremely hard. It shouldn't have been. And I got him in between the tits. And as it's happening, I'm just like looking around and I notice in the corner, there's this little piece of art. And I'm like, maybe it's not that bad. Lady's got some art in her fucking corner of her bed. But then because it's dark out and the light's only there. Then I look closer and my eyes get, balanced to the darkness. And it was just, I'm not lying. I cannot make this shit up. It was 100 fucking cigarettes just piled up. And I'm like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And she was like making some snoring sound. I don't know if that was her respiratory from all the cigarettes or she was just over this experience, because I was almost over it, but I was still hard. So if you want to know how big of a scumbag I am, I'm still hard in the moment, even being completely disgusted from this experience. And between the snoring, the cigarettes, and, her patches of hair and the raccoon eyes, I managed to probably bust a nut, which it couldn't have been longer than 35 seconds a minute because I was so horny. But it felt like it was an eternity. It felt like I was such a sex savant. I didn't know. I didn't need to come, but I just had to. And as I did it, she even handed me tissue, and I just pulled my pants up. I had to get out of there because it was the worst sexual experience for money. For money. I've had bad sexual experiences for no money. But for money, this was the worst sexual experience. And I just remember leaving there. I get out into the light, and it's amazing. There's something like when you've been out in the heat all day, and it's like 100 and something degrees, and you've been walking around, and you've been doing stuff, and then you just walk into the air condition, and it just feels great. And, guys will talk. I'm a wine drinker, not a beer drinker, but guys will talk about, just cracking open a fucking beer in the sun, in the heat. And it's just so refreshing. I've actually had beer in a sauna, so it's the same thing. I could have just fucking said that and not sound like a pussy and say I don't drink beer, but I drink beer in the sauna. And just drinking a beer in the sauna and the bubbles are going down, it's just so refreshing. But walking outside of her place to get out of harm's way, I felt like, man, I'm unscathed. I got out unscathed. Scathed or scathed? Scathed. I said it right the second time. But I got out unscathed, and now I just said it with a lisp. It makes me really sound gay. And I got out unscathed, but I was so upset about that experience, I almost started crying. I called my good buddy Paul Thompson, who's an incredible comic, and I couldn't have been more than 100 feet away from her place as I'm walking away, trying to get the fuck out of that area. I don't know if I'm going to get murdered. I don't know what's going on, but I'm walking away. I call Paul Thompson. I'm like, Paul, I just titty fucked a pig. I mean, I felt like that's the level. And maybe I shouldn't be so aggressive. And sorry for the background noise, but I just titty fucked an absolute, honestly, I would have felt more comfortable if I went to a pig pen and titty fucked an actual pig and felt like at least the pig, like, snorting in the fucking mud would have enjoyed it. But I just didn't feel good. And I was in tears almost to him. I was in tears because I didn't know who to feel bad for. I didn't know who to feel bad for in this situation. Do I feel bad for her? Did I take advantage of her? Or did this bitch take advantage of me? She knew she didn't know anything about my life, but I went to crossover. Here's the biggest pig part of the whole situation. This is where it really disgusting. As I'm walking back to Montreal, I literally open up my phone and go on Grindr. This was in like 15 minutes and find a dude to fool around with. And I felt like such a scumbag. But part of it's like, in my own sense, if I never told anyone, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I could hook up with dudes and chicks within 30 minutes. But the other part of it is like, you're just an absolute pig of a human being, dude. You need to fucking check. You need to fucking check yourself into somewhere. But yeah, that was, again, all from Craigslist. Just deviant times. And it still exists. And I don't know what the fuck anyone goes on there for. I guess people like go on there still for jobs. And I just can't imagine that something that's been around since at least 2005 has anything good for it, like tickets. But there's all these sites that are like, if you want furniture, if you want a job, there's all these sites. So it was in its heyday. This is like an old man reminiscing about, I remember when I played college ball. I remember when I used to fuck absolute pigs off Craigslist. How great it was. And I reminisce. There was a part of the story, I swear to God, I felt like, man, I don't know if I should tell, because I have a producer in the room, because could I still get hard from that experience? Like, if I'm pulling back, I'm like, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe you were just a little nervous because you were only paying $40. But no, I mean, if right now I'm living in New York City, where I haven't hooked up with anyone in the whole time I've been here, because I've just actually been like pursuing comedy. And I'm like, maybe I need an experience like that. Where is the $40 whores when you need them? And when I say whore, I mean it in the term of not like you're a dirty whore. In the pharmaceutical name, the brand name of what they are called. They are professionally called whores. So maybe that would be a great experience. But yes, as of now, I think the bots have taken over Craigslist. And I think we've done probably at least 20 minutes. This has been a 26 minutes of Craigslist content. Now, here's the advantage of this. Here is the great thing about this. Because I didn't even think I was going to tell that story. I had it on a note on my monitor. As my producer said, Eric, the producer, we have monitors here. This is a fucking first-class, full-scale production. And on my monitor, I opened the notepad, the cheapest form of fucking notes on a computer you can use. And I opened the notepad, and I put down all these things I wanted to talk about. The personals, the men for men. We'll save this for another time, because this is good.
Oh, that was good. That's pretty degenerate.
No, I have a story how I used to find men on there, gay men in personals. And one time I actually got a real estate agent, a real estate developer, give me $4,000 once and then wire me $1,500 another time. So we can tell when we start having guests how that story. So Craigslist, we said Craigslist is over. Craigslist is not over. There are more stories. So, but yes, the titty fucking, I hope she's still around. Hopefully COVID didn't get her. Hopefully life didn't get her. This was in 2014. So this is 8 years ago.
Oh, life got her.
Life got her, you think? Life might have gotten her because...
Before.
Oh, yeah, right. Life did get her from before. Life did get her. But yeah, I mean, I could have been the last straw too. I mean, although maybe she's still out there as I'm recording this, and maybe she follows me, because I did email her from jjlieberman.com, which, or my email, my JJ Lieberman email, which she still probably has. So maybe she still follows me, and because there are people that comment on my videos all the time. I don't know who the fuck they are, but they seem to like it, and they've been following me for a long time. Maybe that's her. Maybe she liked my nut so much on her tits. But if you are out there, send me a message. I will fly to Montreal to do it again. Those were amazing tits. Anyways, that is episode 1 of Tales from a Degen, and I think next week we will have episode 2 with an actual guest. That was fantastic. Thank you guys. If you can, tell your friends, like, subscribe, share, go to my Instagram, share the reel, because those are what we're trying to pump up, and definitely share the reels on YouTube, because that's where the numbers will come. Thank you guys very much. JJ Lieberman. Not bad podcast story, eh?